Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you're calling from. My name is Amit. I'm the CEO at Richpanel, and I'm very excited to be sharing the stage here with Alice. We're going to be talking about using customer service as an offensive channel. Traditionally, we've always been using or looking at CX as a way to, as a defensive channel, as a way to avoid bad reviews, as a way to keep the lights on. But in the past few years, that perception has changed. When I was talking to my friend Jason, who runs like a $30 million e-commerce company, he told me like, hey, Amit, there are really like 3 levers that run a e-commerce business, right? And what he told me is like, you have your CAC, you have your COGS, which is the cost of goods and the money required to ship the product out of the warehouse. And the last one is your repeat order rate, right? Now, let's look at CAC, right? It's growing 20% year on year. You have to assume that your competitors are doing the best they can in terms of hiring an agency, optimizing their, Facebook and Instagram ads, and the release of iOS 14 and not saving customers' cookies is not going to make that easy. So what I'm trying to say is that after a point, optimizing this is not going to give like a very good return on your time investment. So the next level that you have is, your COGS. So if you look at the shipping costs are at an all-time high. If you look at the manufacturing cost or the cost of importing something from China is much higher than it was 5 years ago, right? So this is also tough, and you cannot really compromise on the quality of the product because you're going to have other bigger problems. So you're really left with the last lever, which is how do you increase your lifetime value? Or how do you make more money from every sale or from every customer that you get? And on the right you see sample calculations of a e-commerce store, which has an average order value of like $50. The COGS is about $15. The cost of acquisition is about $25. So the gross profit, and this gross profit is what you're going to spend on your technology, what you're going to spend on your salaries. This is what your gross profit is, right? So you're looking at about like $10, right? But if the reorder rate is 10%, like if 10% of your customers end up buying again, then in this case, you're not going to end up spending like the cost of acquisition on them. And let's assume that 10% of the customer buy 2 times more. So you're looking at another, $25 and another $25 to be added to your lifetime value. So you're looking at, somewhere around $55 that you have to play around with. Like that's your gross profit. And one of the quickest and the easiest ways to influence like the repeat order rate is every customer is going to have issues, right? Every time something is going to go wrong, it's either the package or the tracking or issues with the items that they receive. So every time they're going to have an issue, every customer is going to go through that phase. Now this is your time to shine. This is your time to like create an impact and make this customer for life. And just by that, if you can increase that reorder rate from like 10% to 40%, right? These are like actual numbers that people have been able to influence. You can see that suddenly from $55, you now have like 70% to play around with, like $70 to play around with. That's like a 27% increase in your gross profit margin. So that's a significant increase and one of the easiest, lowest hanging fruits that you can go after, right? So having said that, I would love, that's the reason why we chose to speak on this topic. And I would love to, introduce and bring Alice on the stage to share her perspectives. Before she comes on the stage, I've known her for about 18 months. And I remember the first call I did with her, I went to my colleague and I told her that, she speaks like an analyst from like a Gartner or a Forrester, because she's one of the most analytical and, tech savvy individuals that I have come across. A recent demonstration, she just showed me how to take Google Slides on full screen. I've had a hell of a time interacting with her, and she's been quite influential in helping Richpanel shape the product and our entire roadmap. Alice, would love for you to say a few words and introduce yourself.
Well, thank you, Amit. Thank you so much for being patient with me. I know at those beginning meetings, I had like a laundry list of questions and things that we were looking to accomplish. So your team obviously has been incredible with helping us, really revamp our customer service team and really just change the customer experience for our customers at Thinx. So yes, as Amit mentioned, I'm the Senior Director of Customer Experience at Thinx. I've been here about almost over 2 years, about 2.5 years. So our brand encompasses really the whole life cycle from period underwear for teens and tweens to incontinence underwear for people with incontinence and periods as well. So my background is I have about 10 plus years in customer service and then also in customer experience. I did both for B2B in tech and then most recently with Thinx in B2C. And then at my role at Thinx, I'm really responsible for really the end-to-end customer experience, really trying to make sure that we isolate trends, pain points that our customers experience, and what is working well, right, from our digital experience as well as our wholesale experience. So we're responsible for omni-channel support. That includes our traditional CX channels, which everyone is familiar with, from phone to email, also to our self-service center, but also with social media as well. So.
That is awesome, Alice. And Alice, before we kind of move on, right? I added those 2 slides at the last minute because I had to steal them. I loved it when I saw Jason putting it in one of his presentations. So I want to ask you, what are your comments on that? When I presented that slide about what can happen about a reorder rate and how CX can really influence a reorder rate. I know that you guys have a very sophisticated tech stack to kind of measure and consolidate data from all your tools and systems and be able to track the impact that every touch point has on a customer's value. So speak a little bit on that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is something as a business, we're obviously evolving like other businesses to better understand lifetime value. But obviously we have a really good sense from, as Amit mentioned, our tech stack about the whole customer experience, what brings them coming back, what brings them back to us, what issues they have, like whether they returned or whether they had an issue with shipping. We're really trying to build out that holistic view of our customer. And to Amit's point, yeah, it's really important what happens after they purchase. That's kind of where our bread and butter is, in trying to better understand what's happening when they purchase online, what happens in the purchase flow, what happens when they do a return, and what does that change in the customer behavior? Do they come back because they had such a positive experience with our team? Are they coming back because the process of ordering was so simple? So teasing out what are the reasons behind people, repeating purchase, which is so important and crucial to our business, because obviously AOV goes up, right? When people return, they're more comfortable with the product and it's an easier sale. So we want to make sure that we better understand through our metrics, what is causing people not to repurchase, as well as what's causing them to, from our product perspective, but as well as our experience perspective as well.
And what have you seen on that, right? After you've done this analysis, what are some of the factors that is positively influencing the LTV of a customer?
Yeah, so just really a seamless experience, right? Friction is the word, the key word everyone uses, but it's really crucial. We initially, when I onboarded, we were kind of looking into the kind of metrics we were using to determine how the person felt about our customer experience. Was it CSAT? Was it NPS? What were the things that really could help us, change for the better and really better understand, how the customer was interacting with our brand during purchase? And we found CES was the most useful out of the metrics that we initially were looking at, because we were like, okay, if someone has a poor, right, or a high effort experience, right, it was very hard for them to get to either solve their issue or process a return, then they're likely not to repurchase because they're used to a low effort experience. In the space now, Amazon and all these big giants are giving such a frictionless experience, right? So they're just used to clicking a couple buttons and getting the answer they need. So we really have to match that. And we found CES was the biggest indicator of that, and also kind of understanding what people found was an effortful experience. So something that required a lot of effort, and then kind of drilling into that to kind of look into what we wanted to improve. So yeah, it's so, I think that's one of the ones I found over time has been just so crucial in identifying, and really qualifying your customer experience.
This is so awesome and a very refreshing thought. By the way, for those of you who don't know what CES means, CES, when Alice says CES, it's a customer effort score. So Alice would know all the jargons, all the short forms of all the stats that are out there. But that's pretty interesting, Alice, that you compare customer effort score as the key metric that is influencing a lifetime value, right? So contrary to the popular belief that it's about having that one-on-one personalized experience, I think it's important, it has its place, but contrary to the popular belief that I need to be spending a lot of time with my customer, I need to give them like that really touchy, feely experience, has proven to be quite incorrect. And the metric that has the maximum impact on the customer's lifetime value is how much friction are you able to avoid from that journey, right? How less effort does it take when they face an issue, right? Can you speak a little bit about things and why the company has started to like maybe even benchmark or think like a Netflix or a Uber or a Amazon? You mentioned these names. Can you tell us a little bit about the Think story? I know you've been there for a couple of years, but tell us how the company has been doing.
Yeah, I mean, the goal as a company, right, is to make it an easy experience, right? We want our customers to have just a really easy experience adopting the product. It's a value shift, right? It's like we're having customers come from disposable products, from larger brands like Tampax and Depends. So, we have to really set ourselves apart, and really make it so the whole idea is ease and comfort. And, so I really kind of delved into that through the customer experience, thinking about those kind of keywords and those topics and really kind of apply it to our work as well. And that was really a driver, really. Overall, as a business, these are the kind of things that we're focusing on. So kind of thinking about that from the customer experience perspective really led me down the path, and as a company and as a team, just led us down the path of thinking about these high effort experiences. Yeah.
Awesome. And Alice, I believe everyone attending the session, everyone in D2C has heard about Things, but for that occasional one or two, tell us what Things is and what stage are you guys at?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we have 3 brands. We really provide sustainable solutions for periods and incontinence. And we also provide a brand for teens and tweens as well called Between. Our brand for incontinence is called Speak. So, we're an umbrella company. We really are trying to meet our customer where they are and where their experience is at any life stage, right? In any part of their life cycle, from postpartum to, just kind of having your first period. We really want to meet our customer where they are. So that's really been we've really seen a lot of growth, especially I'm sure as other D2C brands have during COVID, but just in general over the last, 2 years since I started, really people are adopting the idea of period underwear in a way that we're really excited about, right? Like other brands, bigger brands like Victoria's Secret and Hanes are adopting the idea. And we find, we love our product, right? We know that it's, a more comfortable product. It's better to use. So it's exciting to see the space really growing in a way that, it's just incredible. We know it's a benefit too, right? We're bringing something sustainable to the market. And then other brands are excited to do the same. So, all of the growth of the industry at large is growth for us as well. So we've seen, really fantastic growth over the last couple of years since I started. And I'm sure it's going to just continue over the next several years. Yeah.
That is pretty awesome. Okay, I do have like a couple of questions, and I'll come to that in a minute. Tell me, when we started talking, Alice, and this is what I told Durai, who's my co-founder, that she really is she like sent by Gartner or a Forrester because of the way that you were asking all these questions. You had really done a very thorough analysis, and if it's fair for me to say, like, you had done like a lot of study around this subject, comparing the best experiences people are getting at other stores versus this store, and you guys were also in the stage of making that shift, right? So what is it according to you was customer support of yesterday, right? What was customer support yesterday, and then we'll talk about like what is it today.
Yeah, so we definitely did a lot of research, to your point on it. We tried a lot of different things. Really customer support, as you've written here, really is and was considered a back office function, right? It was something where you just saw the problem and you kind of solved for it. It was very reactive, right? And when I started with Things, I just kind of thought about, okay, do we want to continue to be reactive, right? How can we start to get proactive, right, with the questions we're seeing, with the issues that customers are having, and so, in the bygone time, right, or like, I guess, present day and then in the past, it's really been very reactive, having a lot of people to throw at the issue, right? Like you just need a lot of people on your phone lines, a lot of people fielding your emails. Your teams were, really large, right, to accommodate all the volume as you scaled. And it was, to your point, expensive, right? Like having phone support, having email support, having live support, right? It's hard to manage. It's hard to keep in different time zones, right? We have customers internationally, so there were a lot of factors to take into account in this kind of system that was pre-automation, right? So, we've obviously seen the industry was moving that direction when I first was looking at these different solutions. Obviously, automation was there, chatbots were there, the beginning was there, right? But I've definitely seen that, got even better over the last even 2 years from when I started to look at these kind of particular tools. It's all around, like we're using them all the time. We're using these automation tools every time you use an app, every time you contact customer service for, a delivery. These, automation is, all around us now. And at the time it was considered, avant-garde, right? Like new companies were considering automation, but it was almost a scary word because it meant depersonalization, like less people, and what does that mean in terms of the long run? So yeah, it's interesting to see it shift so quickly, right, over the last couple of years. But yeah, it's definitely been changing and more towards like self-service and automation. So.
And what do you think about like the customer support of today? You mentioned like the Amazon and the Netflix. It's very like even if you look at like Shopify always being benchmarked against an Amazon, and similarly
Right.
all D2C brands are benchmarked against an Amazon. I've seen like support tickets saying, how long are you taking to ship this product? I would just buy from Amazon next time. Like why did I buy from you in the first place? And I'm sure you are familiar with these kind of tickets as well.
Yeah.
I would like to believe like, Netflix, Uber Eats, Amazon are setting up, like they've invested a lot in their technology. They've essentially productized their customer support. It's not like, you get stuck and you have to move out. If you want to do a return or an exchange, or if you want to say like, hey, my food arrived spilled in Uber Eats, it's a part of the product. Like they've thought it through and it's a button like inside the product, which is kind of amazing. So, you are being benchmarked against these people, right? In terms of, what the level is. Is that a correct statement? Are you being benchmarked against these people? What's the customer expectations?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Customer expectations remain extremely high, right? Even though we've been in now the last year or so has been very challenging for customer experience, right? Their delays, their shipment issues from UPS to FedEx. There were all of these issues with fulfillment, so it ran the gamut. So, but customer expectations didn't change. They were like, well, we know that it exists, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to do it, because like larger companies are able to, throw money at it and figure it out and have a way to kind of solve for these larger issues that all of the companies are facing at this time. So we're constantly compared, right, to other brands in their experience, even like smaller brands. It's like, oh, I saw something cool that this brand was doing. Why don't you guys do that? That happens all the time, which we love. That feedback from our customers is super helpful. We learn from it. But yeah, that's, comparison is just the nature of the game. And that's why it's so important that we start, constantly think about these kind of problems, because, everyone else is, other brands are. So we just have to remain competitive. Yeah.
Got it. And in the world where, you see like customer support being productized or becoming a part of the product, for the things where people needed to contact customer service or had to chat with you or phone call you, now it's built inside the product. What do you see as the role of agents?
Yeah, that's really interesting, because it's been shifting within our team over the last year or so. So initially, when I started, the team were our tier 1 to tier 3 support. They were generalists. They kind of solved all of the cases that kind of came in. And, it was draining because, it was a small team, and responsible for basically our entire customer base. And we also had assistants remotely, but it was a small team as well. So we really had to think smart about like the solution that we would come up with. And, over time we built the team, but not to the degree that, the business has grown, because we really were thinking about like other solutions besides like just growing our team to a large degree. We knew there was other ways that we could kind of tackle the volumes that we were seeing. So, now our team has really been able to focus, right, on what I would call specialization. So really thinking about what part of the customer experience throughout our company is really important. So, we have a team member who's a specialist in product. We have a team member now who specializes in operations. So we really could specialize and build our team in a different way because we were automating some of these basic kind of questions that would kind of flood the queue prior. So these are tracking issues, or where is my order questions, or I ordered the wrong thing and now I don't know how to return. So all these kind of questions now we can kind of field through our self-service. So it gives our team an opportunity to really learn the ins and outs of the business and make sure that we are as educated as possible about our product, educated as possible about the issues that could confront the customer during their journey. And so that's kind of where the direction has gone, is really building out these specializations with our team and just learning as much as we can to make sure that we're giving the best answers and the best experience to our customers. And then we can add back the personalization now, right? It's not an issue now. We have all like the automation handle. We can start thinking about pre-sale and personalization and how we're engaging with new customers and what kind of questions they're asking. So it really gives us an opportunity to really think more smart about the whole experience, just because we, kind of isolate those kind of, to your point, support tickets that don't need an agent to kind of handle. So.
I love it. I love it. You beautifully summed it up. So you're using like self-service for fielding all these repeat mundane queries, like where is my order, returns, exchanges, cancellations, and you're using your agents for like those high value interactions. So the support agents are going from more being, like tier 1 support to becoming like, product experts, functional experts, upskilling and becoming really subject matter experts. Now, up until now, right, if I am in the audience, I would imagine that you're talking about a chatbot. I know how you feel about chatbots because you pretty much tested like everything out there. And what do you think, why is it that you didn't go with like a chatbot solution?
Yeah, so to your point, we tried a lot of chatbot solutions. There's one native to Zendesk, and that was the platform we were on prior to onboarding Richpanel. And overall, we saw basically the self-service rates from a chatbot be quite low. It was between 4 and 10%. When now we're seeing self-service at the rate of about 30 to 40%. Even just initially when we launched the application. So it was really crucial, for us to have those high, self-service rates because we were a small team. So that was like really one of the primary drivers away from chatbots. And then the customer sentiment around them was, it was mixed, right? We would see people who didn't notice. They were excited about the fast response because the bots that we use obviously you could give a faster response than waiting for an agent to handle your request. To like, I know I'm talking with a bot. I don't want to talk with a bot. This is weird. Like, where I like to speak to a person. And we get less of that now, obviously, if not any, we don't see that at all anymore, right? Because people can choose whether they want to self-serve or whether they prefer to talk to us. So it's just a friction point. It was once again another example, right, of a high effort, right, to some customers. It just felt like, it wasn't conversational, and it wasn't what it was meant to be or advertised as. And I think chatbots are getting better, right? They're getting more conversational. They're getting more form-like, where it's like it's kind of a bot, but it's also a form. It's also a self-service form. So obviously the space is improving, but overall, just in terms of our customer, we found, they just weren't engaging with it the way that we wanted them to.
Awesome. It's glad that you mentioned it. I was having a chat with my colleague, and we are exhibiting at a physical trade show after a year or more than that. And he told me, like, he went on that booth's website because, he got stuck with the collateral, and he went in an endless loop trying to get hold of an agent, right? And which is what we are trying to avoid. And to Alice's point, this is what a low effort experience would look like. So when a customer goes on the website, you're identifying the customer, which is already like a delightful experience. You're bringing in all the conversations they've had in the past from like all the channels in one place. But it feels like a part of the product. It feels like a Uber or an Amazon interface where I'm able to track the order. And I've also seen like people using self-service also as a retention channel, right? This is what we were discussing yesterday, Alice. Like, a lot of companies which have like, they accept like a lot of pre-orders, right, which are going to ship out after a month or two, and they end up getting a lot of cancellation as a result of it. So instead of training a bunch of agents on how to rebuttal and how to retain those customers, people have started to use like the self-service flow to retain these customers. Like in this particular case, I'm a test customer. I'm trying to go and say, I want to cancel a test order or a pre-order. And it, right off the bat tells me that order number 1137 was shipped on Jan 22nd or placed on Jan 22nd. It's in pre-order. We recommend holding a position in the queue, right? And customer can say like, okay, I want to hold my position, please ship it soon. Or they say, I still want to cancel and get a refund. And this is where that second retention flow kicks in. So you tell the customer they can either get a gift card, which is available to use immediately, plus get like an extra 10% and the $299 order value. Or if they go with the original payment method, then they have to wait for 5 or 7 business days. So this is what a highly trained agent would do, is now getting automated within the self-service flow. And this is like one of the ways that people are kind of converting customer service and low effort experiences into customer loyalty, into getting them back. I know we are running out of time, Alice, so I'm going to jump right to the end and have you speak a little bit upon like the kind of results you've seen. I did cover like the cancellation flows. You've also automated like order tracking, returns, exchanges. These kind of queries are no longer coming to your team. I would like you to speak like what kind of results you are seeing from it. Like if you could speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I touched on it a little bit. I mean, and the one that really got me was the reduction in tickets, right? That 45% metric was huge. When I first joined, the team is amazing. I mean, they were giving stellar customer experience when I started. So I was really lucky to have such a great team. And at the time, I was like, I just want to make your job easier because you guys are so amazing. Like, how can I make your job easier? And that was where I really was my goalpost, right? Like I was like, okay, we have to get these reduction in tickets. We have to start automating at least 20 to 30%. And I had it pretty low. I was like 10 to 15, I'm good. Like I was happy to get 10 to 15% reduction. But we've been really lucky, like, and over time, just working with its team, is really like, doing an amazing job helping us kind of figure out what things to automate versus what things to remain at the agent level. We've been able to get to this 45% number. And so that was really one of the key factors and driving factors when I was initially on board, was just how can I make the team's life easier? And ultimately, as we make the team's life easier, we make the customer's life easier as well. Both were like equal considerations, and this, application seemed to be able to match both. And it's really over time has really proven that out. And so, I have a happy team, which is really important, but I also have happy customers who can self-serve at a much higher rate than we were able to do with the other chatbots and apps that we tested. And also we get a bonus, right? We now can start tracking conversion rates and off of the widget as well as the self-service portal. So we want to see that. We want to get those numbers up. So that's my next goalpost, right? Is to kind of start using the things that Amit showed about, keeping those retention customers, coming back or like preventing cancellations and refunds. So lots to do, but really exciting to see where we've gotten up to now.